talking about extreme heat in Southeast Asia, record floods in the UAE, Russia, and Kazakhstan. What is the science telling us about global warming? Are these extreme weather events the new norm?
Well, we've known about this for some time now. We've known that the world is approaching a time when extreme weather events will be more and more prevalent. That time is now. So nothing new really from where I sit. I think that we should have really prepared for something like this uh, well.
Okay. But Alberto, let's take a look at what's happening just this year alone. It would seem that this year is a little bit more extreme if you compare it to the events or
Yes.
weather events last year and then the year before that and so on and so forth. So is it really getting worse, or are we just getting bombarded every year so we feel like it's getting worse? For example, when I was a kid, El Nino would happen every so often, not every
Yeah.
summer. Right now, it's like El Nino. Right after that, it's the Nina, and then El Nino again. What's going on? What does the data say?
Yeah, it's a cycle. Every time you have El Nino, then you have these heat spells. And every time that happens, as far as the power sector is concerned, there's higher demand. And the power plants operate more difficultly during high temperatures. So this is what happens. I would agree that it has gotten worse recently. This year is particularly bad.
This year, and then what do you have any idea or data on what the science is telling us that is making it particularly bad this year?
Well, I'm not, ICSC has experts on that, the Stibig particularly. In my interactions with her, she has warned about something like this. It'll get worse and worse if the world doesn't decarbonize. That's the effort that we'd like to do, help the Philippines decarbonize.
ICSC actually put out a press release yesterday coinciding with the NGCP announcement of the red and yellow alerts. And the main takeaway that I took is that the Luzon grid is expected to experience tight power supply in May,
Yes.
particularly from May 13 to 26, potentially leading to yellow alerts as El Nino threatens the country's power
Yeah.
supply. Talk us through that.
Yes, we normally prepare this before the second quarter of the year. This time, it just so happened that when we scheduled the press conference, we got the red alert and the yellow alert. So I don't know if we have good timing or not, but I think the point that we're making is this. Historically, we've seen forced outages in our baseload power plants. Historically, it's like every year. That's why in our power outlook, we allow for certain amounts of forced outages. Even so, we have underpredicted the level of forced outages that we experienced yesterday and up to today.
Alberto, would you know how delayed we are in building more capacity in terms of power
Okay.
supply?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that, and I may give a counterintuitive answer. No, everyone says we need more capacity. The point is, what kind of capacity do we need? Many will say probably, we need more baseload power plants. We have too much. You know why we have forced outages? It's because our baseload power plants cannot operate at their peak level every time. If we look at the data on the operations of our coal power plants, our baseload gas power plants, every day they go up and down because that's the nature of our demand. Our demand is low in the early morning, it's highest at noontime, 11 o'clock thereabouts. So there is a huge variability in our load. And the level of base load power plants today is practically equal to the peak demand. In other words, we have to ramp them down. We have to ramp them down every day. So imagine if you're the base load power plant, you expect to run at a constant level, to go ramp down, then you go up the following. at the proper time in the day, then you ramp down again. Parang ano yan na traffic na kotse, instead of just running straight at a steady speed in the highway, it's going up and down, and that is harmful to the electrical equipment in the power plants.
When you talk about ramp down, you mean from the demand side, meaning consumers have to scale back energy use?
No.
The
We
producers.
have innate demand in our system. Look at our homes. At 1 o'clock in the morning, do you consume a lot of power at your home? Probably not, no? Probably not. At 12 o'clock, for people like me who work from home, I probably consume a lot of power because my computer is on, air conditioner is on, lights are on, and so on. So my peak demand is probably at around noontime. It's similar to the grid. There's a natural load profile. It's not steady. We build too much baseload power plants. Now, we have to ramp them down because there's not enough load. So, the danger in the statement that we need to build new power plants is, well, what kind of power plants will you build? If you build more baseload, you will add to the problem. Because you have to ramp down the new capacity as well as the old ones.
So what other kinds or types of plants should we be focusing on building?
Well, ICSC has always been pro renewables. Renewables are not just solar and wind. We have geothermal, we have biomass, which are like baseload capacities. ICSC is for a more distributed configuration of the grid. In other words, more power plants, smaller and spread out. That is the proper configuration for a country, an archipelago like the Philippines. Instead, what we have are large clusters of power plants in the south of Luzon, in Quezon. Now, we've taken a look at this. If there's a single typhoon at the appropriate path, in just one pass over the Philippines at the appropriate path, over 3,000 megawatts will be hit of capacity. That's immediate blackout for a long time. Now, if we have a more distributed system, smaller power plants at appropriate locations, then we would be less susceptible to such kinds of weather events. So that's what ICSC wants to do. We want a more distributed, we want a more diverse system. Now, the easy way to address a problem like this is, let's have more power plants. Let's throw more baseload. That will make it worse.
I would like to circle back to what you said, that most of our plants are, of course, large base load capacity plants,
Yes.
and they're all clustered together. Why are they clustered together? Is there any specific reason that they are, in fact, clustered together?
Yeah, well, one reason is you need access to a large body of water if you're a thermal power plant. Another reason is there are ideal locations in the grid that will allow you to connect to the transmission system. What we need is a system that will allow more power plants to be built in more locations. That has been a challenge for NGCP. And my hope and my wish is for them to address that challenge.
And in the short term, between April to June, as per your the Philippine Power Outlook report that ICSC just put out, what's one recommendation that you have for the government to help us ensure a stable and continuous power supply?
Power is a long-term game. There's nothing we can do to address the situation in May and in June. So what the government is doing, what the private sector is doing, like Meralco, ILP, interruptible load, energy efficiency, all of these will help. All of this will help. But, I've been in energy planning for over 40 years. I hope we realize our problem is not more baseload power plants. That will just add to our problems.